Malik, you have to send requests. So there's a button you have to hit request on to chat live. So it's a button on the, I think it's on the bottom, and you gotta press request on it. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Let me click on that. Hey, good morning, Malik.
Let me put the audio up here. Hold on 1 second. Hey, comrade.
How did you become sideways?
I don't know. How's this? If I turn it like that.
Cool.
Okay, all right. See, I'm trying to figure out this new gadgetry.
Can you turn up the volume?
Certainly. Hold on 1 second. Okay, that's high as it go right there.
It's 8 in the morning here
Yeah, I know
on Sunday.
it's 11, so I really appreciate you getting up, man.
What time is it? What time is it there right now?
It's actually 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised people are coming in to check out the interview. I thought
Well, anything
people will
you
be
post,
asleep right now because it's 8 in the morning.
well, I think anything you post is going to be newsworthy.
Okay, today we're gonna interview Malik. Malik is an activist, community organizer, also the book author of from Olgar to Vanguard. Okay, we're gonna. I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay.
Hey, Clockwork, age 313. Okay, before we go into the interview, what do you think about all this that's going on right now with the whole
Well,
lockdown and everything?
yeah, it's kind of a crazy, I think, manufactured thing. Because thing is, I've never really trusted what's going on in terms of the government and what they present to us. Obviously, coming from a history that this country had syphilis experiments. I think they also had Native Americans with smallpox in the blankets, and I think of the Boxer Rebellion over in China, in which tons of addictive opium was dispersed throughout China. So, again, I'm skeptical as always, but I'm remaining very strong in terms of the power of the people to figure it out and get beyond the propaganda, which I think is reactionary.
Recently, your friend Kamal sent me this thing about Dr. Phil Valentine. It was really interesting, saying that most of the tests is not accurate for the COVID-19. It was really interesting to listen to Dr. Phil Valentine. And
Yeah, he's been a forefront in terms of information, particularly when it comes to health remedy, things that's good for our bodies, or things that's good for our minds. Because not only do you need to liberate your mind, but also body and soul. So, Kamal's always a champion, Mr. Valentine.
are you also temporary out of work right now as well?
No, no, actually, I get to work from home. I'm in the type of industry that I can do my work from home, and I'm able to just go about my business because 99% of all my work is online, or I should say, on a computer. So therefore, it hasn't been as impactful. But I really feel I have many family members that have lost their jobs, and we're doing what we can to help out. And I really, definitely feel for people around the country that are going through this.
Okay, let's start with the interview now. How,
Okay.
how, how did you get involved with the new Panther Vanguard movement in Los Angeles? Because you used to live in LA a long time ago.
Yes, yes. Actually, I had taken a trip over to Africa, and I had a chance to meet with Kwame Ture, which most people know as Stokely Carmichael. And I met him in Accra, Ghana. And he asked me, was I part of an organization? And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, well, that's contradictory, because if you have all these feelings and passions about your people and the people in general, you should join an organizational apparatus. So therefore, I decided, well, let me join an organization. And I thought about the various organizations that were around: SCLC, NAACP, CORE. You know, SCLC, I'm not a preacher, so I couldn't join them. CORE, the Urban League, I'm not really a businessman. So I wanted to find the right kind of movement that fit me. And so the thing is, I would be more geared toward the revolutionary activist mode. The Panthers really inspired me to where I say, well, my philosophy and their philosophy mixes. And when I came back to America from my trip to Africa, I saw a flyer that I think Kwaku and Sharif put out to the people that say, hey, come to this event. This is the launching of this movement. And so therefore, after figuring out that I want to be a part of a revolutionary type of group, I went to the event and I immediately became a member. And so that's really the genesis of how I joined the Panther Vanguard movement. And one interesting fact, too, is that the first meeting, I remember sitting down, and on my right was Ronald Friedman of the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party. And he was pretty much giving us advice and telling us about the history of LA and Panthers. And so the thing is, on my left was Charles Boko Freeman, who became a mentor to me. And so therefore, that was really the basis of how I got involved in the Panther Vanguard movement in terms of the legacy of the Black Panther Party.
If you see Boko, please give him my love to Boko. I haven't talked to Boko for a while.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll send him. I'm gonna give him a call today.
Okay. In your book, you did a quote on page 31. It reads, "Thought our focus was the Black community. We knew that poor whites, Latin, and Asian communities of color needed a hand too. So we serve anyone that looked like they need help." So, what community service did you do?
Okay, well, we had, unlike the first generation Panther movement, we had we didn't do breakfast for children because the Panther Party really was the one that instituted that. And then in urban communities, they had breakfast for children in schools largely because of the Panther movement. But we were involved in mass food giveaways, anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 bags of free food. Some of the programs, like the Seniors Against Fearful Environments program, reinstituted in Los Angeles. We had a SAFE program, again, for Seniors Against Fearful Environment, where we went out to the elders in the community to see and meet their needs. We had breast cancer awareness. We had a free health clinic. And, you know, you've been by our office, and matter of fact, you sent some wonderful comrades and fellow musicians over to check out our clinic, in which Kwaku was standing outside, and they took a great picture. But we would offer free health care to the community, and also have 2 or 3 African-American doctors in the Los Angeles area that would come and volunteer their time to service the people in our community. And no matter what color you were, if you needed some kind of assistance, you needed any kind of health needs and concerns, you can get them answered at Panther International headquarters on West Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Los Angeles. And so we had a variety of programs: political education on Wednesday evenings. We had that. We had Remembering the Black Panther Party Festival and forums. We were really just involved in all aspects of the community.
Also, I remember in the 90s at the Panther headquarters, you guys had the Spanish class.
Yes.
Spanish class and the computer class. Because if I remember correctly, there was like 4 or 5 computers, and there was a computer class. And also on your book, on page 44, you put, "I realized that a platform without a program is symbol without a substance." And it goes there, talk about Huey a little. There will be those that will only want to be known in the media, but we best judge ourselves by establishing community survival program. That was really cool. The organization was doing community survival program, but just curiosity, how come you guys didn't call the media to get like more? Won't more people know about the Panther and stuff if media got involved?
Well, there's an old saying that if someone won't treat you right, you can't expect them to teach you right. So therefore, we've decided to have our own propaganda so we can get out to the community some of the programs that we had for them.
The newspaper.
Yeah, the newspaper. And thing is, we had to have our own proper propaganda. And thing is, as Minister of Information, I was heavily involved with that to get our own word out there, and we didn't expect the larger reactionary mainstream media to cover some of the great things we did in the community without the provocative rhetoric that they're used to from Panthers.
Okay, this one is from up here from Northern California.
Yeah.
But tell me about the newspaper. How many different issues did you guys put out in Southern California?
Okay, we were well, I guess we're 4 times a year. We put it out, and I can't remember the exact number, but I remember when the first issue, as Minister of Information, I had to kind of work out a situation where, we raised the money for the newspaper, and so thing is, but before that, let me backtrack. We actually did a collaboration paper with a Panther group in London, England. That went by the name Panther. And so we did a collaboration paper with this London group that's called Panther. We were, of course, Panther Vanguard in Los Angeles. And so that was the initial paper, a collaborative effort. But then we got to a point of having our own newspaper, and we put it out around 4 times a year. And thing is, again, we didn't expect the mainstream media to really cover some of the great things we're doing on behalf of the people.
So in the 90s, role models and stuff, Sharif Abdullah.
Oh yeah, my comrade.
And Sharif was may he rest in peace, but Sharif was like street smart, and when he walks in the room, you could feel that energy, the fire, like
Yes, absolutely. He inspired me so much. Yes, with his delivery.
Yes,
he really was our version of Bunchy, and a lot of
yes, version of Bunchy. Yes,
yes.
So what I'm trying to say was, I was talking to Dreamer about this last week. A lot of the OGs are gone. Back in the 90s, when you have organization, you would have former gang members or gangsters, because people who knew about street politics and everything. But I don't see that after 90 was over. I don't see that anymore in any organization or any community group who brings in gangsters to be all political or to be revolutionary. After Sharif passed away, also Michael Zinzin, community support of the gang troops, passed away. All the OGs are gone in Los Angeles. Last time I was there was like, what I'm trying to say is, like, a lot of the OG left. There's I don't know any group or organization brings in all the street soldiers from the street and stuff.
Right.
I don't see that anymore. But because
Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead.
Because like long time ago when you guys have meetings and stuff, it was so revolutionary. Like everyone walks in the room, group studies, fist up, and everything. But I gotta tell you something funny. I'm not against it, but I just find it funny. Nowadays, when I'll check out meetings up here in Northern California, instead of doing this, they do this. They wiggle the finger. People wiggle the finger like this. I'm not against it, but I think it's cool. But and then they snap their finger.
Well, I just came from Paris. They do that a lot.
I'm not against it, but I just find it funny because you come from the hard, like, revolutionary and everything, but it's not. There's no feeling energy like that with the fire. Like, oh, like, let's go on revolution. Let's do something. It's just all Like
Yeah,
beatniks,
yeah.
poetry beatniks from the coffee shop doing like this for many years ago. Things
Well,
changed so much. It's just crazy with all the politics, organization, and everything. I don't
well,
see
I
that
think it's
George
important
Jackson
that,
spirit or anything like that.
yeah, I was going to say, I think it's important that whoever you follow is heavily politicized and educated politically to be able to influence the masses. And a lot of our grassroots, because, our movement, as well as the first generation movement, was to appeal to the masses. And the masses come from the hood, if you will, from the neighborhoods that aren't bourgeois or well-to-do, because that represents the masses of our people. But of course, the original founders of the Black Panther Party, they were intellectuals, even though Huey had that street thing as well. But they were highly educated. And thing is, they also worked with brothers like, eventually Bunchy Carter, who formed the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party in Los Angeles. And again, he was a renegade Slauson.
Yes,
Originally was a
Lawson's.
literal Slauson.
Right. Also, tell us about Wayne Farr. I
Oh,
finished this
wow.
book in 2 days.
Wow, I tell you, he was so inspirational. He would always come to our events. Him, Ronald Freeman, Roland Freeman, Brother Youssef was a supporter at that time. And Brother Wayne was just so powerful. He said it, and he didn't hold any punches back. And he had one of the most revolutionary chronological journeys in the book, Nine Lives of a Black Panther. And I highly recommend everyone read it. And it really influenced me to write as well. Because Sharif Abdullah, rest in peace to my comrade who I worked directly with, as you know, he actually told me, he said, well, brother, you should write a book. And I had never thought about it because I said, well, either Quaker will write one or Boko or Sharif would. I just didn't think I was worthy. And so the thing is, to have the influence of Brother Wayne, to look at the influences of the Freeman brothers, and then to get inspired from Sharif, Kwaku, Boko. And I said, well, I just started writing. And of course, you were a large part of our coalition politics that we had going in Los Angeles. So I definitely commend you. But that is the part and parcel of how I was able to go ahead and write the book.
Well, before Wayne Farr passed away, Wayne Farr, Roland, and Elder Freeman, they came to couple different Southern California anarchist gathering and also anarchist book fair. They were on the panel and did a workshop and speaking and everything like that. They kept in touch with us and everything. Also, Sharif, before they passed away and stuff.
Yeah,
I posted on my old YouTube channel and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
They were so influential, and they supported what we were doing in Los Angeles. That's very important because you never know how the quote unquote first generation will be receptive to you or not receptive, but they recognize our work. And I got to give a special shout out to Dr. Kato Gato Cooks, who was in the Panther Party from '69 to '82. And not only that came just after Bunchy was assassinated along with John Huggins, but he was there when Kwaku Duran, who was definitely someone I think needs more credit, and a spotlight needs to be put on him because he was the unsung hero of the Black Panthers. And so again, he started it from 1977 to '82, and then he did the Vanguard movement from 1994 to 2002. So he's someone that needs definite high recognition.
Yes, I'm really glad Kwaku reopened the chapter and stuff. Because of Kwaku, I met everyone. If it wasn't Kwaku, I would have never met anyone. And then in your book, you posted something. You put a quote like, Bobby Seale approved it because Bobby Seale was not happy with all the like new Black Panthers starting, but he approved a new Panther Vanguard. He was saying, yes, that's a real community organizer or something.
Yeah, we were definitely appreciative of Brother Bobby. He was in the Pasadena Weekly where they asked him about the current, I guess, quote unquote Panther groups, and he said that the LA Panthers, represented by the Vanguard, are on target. So that meant a lot. And of course, we're always appreciative, but our focus has always been to educate the community and to serve the community. So that just having Brother Bobby and Sister Kathleen and others, Kathleen Cleaver and others to recognize that that's great and it was cool, but and much appreciated. But thing is, we were focusing on the community programs. We were focused on coalitions. And thing is, we're focused on getting proper propaganda to the people. So that was just like a cherry on top. It meant a lot, but we didn't rely on that because words are beautiful, but action is supreme, as Che Guevara used to say.
Back to your book.
Yeah.
Towards the end, you were going through some really cool historical stuff, and I'm gonna read you a quote.
Okay.
This is really interesting. Castro was a major contributor to anti-imperialist wars in Africa, Central America, and Asia. Castro sent tens of thousands of troops to Angola when apartheid South Africa was invading Angola.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about some? I don't know too much about the Cuban history or things like that, but what's your opinion about Cuban who are some of the Cubans who are here who are against Castro and stuff?
Well, the thing is, with Castro, the programmatic history of what Cuba has done around the world, as well as in Cuba in terms of free education, the healthcare, there are Cuban doctors going all over the world, and also to influence African liberation struggles. There's a film that was done a few years ago that documented that, where he helped many of the liberation movements in South Africa, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, working with Samora Machel, working with so many liberation movements against the imperialists. So the thing is, Cuba has always been a very wonderful study in terms of how people can come together through the leadership, and Cuba's influence is global. And just look at right now, they have a almost 60-year embargo on Cuba, but yet Cuba sends out doctors all over the world like they're doing right now with this pandemic.
And
Yes.
you went to Cuba a couple times, right?
Yes, I have. I got a chance to go to Cuba a couple times, primarily as a journalist, writing for Rolling Out magazine, and I did a couple features on Cuba. And thing is, you can look it up, Cuba Behind the Palm Curtain. I think that's the name of it. It's called Behind the Palm Curtain. And so the thing is, I really fell in love with Cuba and the Cuban people. And I really think that we need to apply more pressure on this government to get rid of that embargo they have on, because it has asphyxiated the Cuban people and caused a genocide situation for the Cuban people. And they deserve a lot better than that, because they are very welcoming neighbors to the United States.
And few of the Panthers in the 70s, they all went to exile in Cuba too.
Yes, absolutely. I think of course, people know that Huey P. Newton, Sada Shakur, she was given exile in Cuba. So many. I think of William Lee Brandt. He has a book called Long Time Gone. And he got exiled in Cuba in terms of just going there to be free. Robert Williams, who had the book Negroes with Guns. They went to Cuba. He went to Cuba. Huey P. Newton, for a period of time, went to Cuba. So it's always been a revolutionary, enclave, or I should say, revolutionary place where they can kind of gather themselves, walk on some liberated territory and get some more liberated education from a model government at that particular time.
And on the back of the book, like I said, it's like you were talking about all kinds of issues during the end, like different countries and stuff. And I also noticed you've been to Africa. Africa is such a huge continent. Tell me about what part of Africa you've been to.
Oh, certainly. I've been to, again, Malcolm X was always my initial inspiration. And he had been to Egypt, and I've been to Egypt and Cairo 4 times. I've been to Ghana, West Africa a number of times, South Africa, where I had a chance to meet the family of David Sebago, primarily his son Bongani, his mother, well, I should say David Sebaco's mother, Elizabeth, David Sebaco's wife, I'm sorry, widow, Elizabeth Sebaco. Got a chance to meet her, got a chance to meet uh, Benny Alexander, who went by the name Quosan X, who was the Secretary General of the Pan Africanist Congress. So I didn't go there to vacation. So I meant to make some contacts, and I've been to a number of those places multiple times, twice to Johannesburg, Cape Town. So I really was kind of following the footsteps of Malcolm, almost really kind of following the footsteps of Eldridge Cleaver in a way, because I was also a propagandist for the movement, and I was really, definitely reading about and learning about his travels and what connections he made, because it's about bringing the global community together as opposed to these fractured splitters of humanity.
When Eldridge was in exile, didn't he have a Panther chapter in Africa too?
Yes, absolutely. He had it in, I believe it was Algiers.
Yes.
Yeah, and he had the International Panther section, and I think after Eldridge ran it for a while, and there began to be some contradictions, Pete O'Neill actually took it over. Who, of course, Charlotte and Pete O'Neill, who were Kansas City Panthers, also in exile for in terms of Pete, and so he carried it on up until the point where Eldridge years later would go. Surrender and go from Paris to back to the United States to serve a short prison sentence from the Bobby Hutton murder by the Oakland Police Department, in which he was involved in the that incident in terms of the Panthers' response, at least his response to that, I should say, and little Bobby Hutton went along, but it was basically to that case. So that's why I always say the international connection is so very important in building a liberation movement globally. So, that pretty much is why I was very inspired by them having that kind of international section.
How about Europe? Have you been to Europe with your book?
Yes, I have. I had a chance to go to Amsterdam, London, and Paris. Amsterdam really was just a stopover, but in London, I got a chance to meet Westminster, Professor Adeyinka Mandinke, and he definitely was very aware of my book. We exchanged books, and hopefully, when all this was kind of died down in terms of traveling, we'd like to probably go back over to London. And then in Paris, I got a chance to meet Professor Pierre Desiree Cross, who's also a professor over in Paris, France. And he had a copy of the book. There's another sister, Dalienda Dio, that I also got a chance to meet. And we had been kind of Facebook friends for a long time. And she said, when you come here, please bring me a copy. I would like to get a copy of your book. So, and as well as Emanuela Brown Bam, I got a chance to meet her. She's an activist in Paris. So again, I got a chance to meet some really dynamic people, and they were well aware of the book. Also, the brother his name is David Polovica. He's over in Germany. He's the one that initially got the book, and then from there he printed the article I did on Bunchy Carter called "They Called Him Bunchy Like a Bunch of Greens." And it was first published in Germany. And then the San Francisco Bay View picked it up. And so the thing is, I've had these international connections for quite a while. And I'm very appreciative of the reception of the book.
Tell us about your art exhibition you've been doing.
Oh, okay.
With all the pictures and stuff. Because a lot of people don't know this, but on one of your art exhibitions, there's a picture of Kwaku. And they're really known in the DIY punk scene. A band called Os Rotten. They're really well known. They were in the 90s. It was Os Rotten, Neil from Tribal War Records. He used to sing for a punk band Nausea. That's Neil.
Okay.
and Mark the poet and Carol from AK Press. We were all there, and I took a group photo and stuff.
Right.
It,
Yeah.
that
I'm
was so
really
cool. You put them in an art exhibit. Tell us about your from Old Guard to Vanguard art exhibition you've been doing. All the photos
okay.
and stuff.
Well, actually, it was a collaborative effort between myself and my comrade, Brother Kamal Cyrus, who's in Indianapolis, Indiana. He was our Midwest representative of the Panther Vanguard, and we talked about doing something similar to what Bill Jennings does in Sacramento with the Legacy photo exhibit. And so then is we kind of got a cue from Brother Billy X in Sacramento with what he was doing, and we said, well, look, the Panther Party in the '70s with Kwaku and the Panther Vanguard in the '90s, they really aren't represented, or people don't know much about it. And so therefore, we said, well, words, I think a picture tells 1,000 words. And so then, yes, we decided that we would kind of follow Billy's example, Bill Jennings' example, and create a photo exhibit with all these programmatic pictures, the work we were doing in the community. We went from Bunchy's era, obviously in '66 through 1970, 71, whatever, and then we went from Kwaku's Southern California. He was the coordinator of Southern California chapter. We used some pictures from that era, from '77 to 1982. And then, of course, the Panther Vanguard movement, which you were a strong coalition comrade for us from '94 to 2002. So all these pictures are represented within this photo exhibit. Kamal Cyrus is the curator of it. And thing is, I'm the coordinator. I actually did the exhibit here in Atlanta. I organized it along with Brian Abear at the Southwest Arts Center, who's also a muralist and artist. And so we hope to bring the exhibit to Los Angeles and the Bay Area very soon.
Hey, since you mentioned Billy X,
Yeah.
um, Billy X, I think it was a few months ago. I think I sent you the link. He spoke at the anarchist gathering up here. He did a really amazing workshop
Yeah, I saw that. It was
front of all the
fantastic.
punk rockers. Since you
Yeah,
mentioned
I
Billy
love
X,
it.
a couple months ago, I drew a picture of Billy X when he was young,
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's
and
Billy.
right next to him is
Oh,
Albert.
wow. That's fantastic, brother.
May Albert rest in peace. But
Yes,
Billy X
God
when he
bless
was
him.
young.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. You see,
That
Billy,
was a picture
brother.
from the original picture when he was walking with Huey.
Yes, yes, I remember that picture. It's very, very famous. He was walking the court with Brother Huey. And of course, he was a bodyguard, as well as comrade to Huey during some of Huey's trials at the particular time. So yeah, yeah. Thing is, uh, in terms of the coalition between the Panthers and other groups and people like yourself and organizers, it's really about people and bringing people together, educating, inspiring, working with. And that's really what the Panther movement, the generational Panther movement, was all about. And I have to say that most people don't know that there was a three-era Panther movement in Los Angeles. Bunchy Carter's era, Kwaku Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party era, and the Panther Vanguard era in Los Angeles, which also branched out to Indianapolis, Indiana with Brother Kamal Cyrus. It's influenced people even today, like Brother Maurice Burwell in Dallas, and so many others. Malik Zulu Sherrod, who's doing some good things in New Jersey. Jack Jackson, who's doing some great things in New Jersey. There's a brother in New Orleans, Boss Man Rivers. He's doing some great things. The other brother in Las Vegas, Stretch Sanders. More civil rights, but he's doing some wonderful, innovative things, and he has a copy of the book. And we inspired him to the point, or at least the book inspired him to create some programs modeled after what we did in Los Angeles in the '90s, particularly the barbecue. We had the barbecue for the community programs, if you will. So the thing is, it's really about influencing and even though we didn't finish our objective, it's always very preeminent of us to definitely inspire others to continue that journey.
Why was the Panthers so good at community organizing?
Well, number one, it comes from a love of the people and to many of the things they don't get from the government or from the system. if we come together, we can make it happen ourselves. So thing is, they didn't, like I said, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We just basically wanted to serve the people, body and soul. You have to remember the first program that the Black Panther Party did, or the first thing they did was help be a stoplight in Oakland after some kids had gotten run over and killed. And so eventually they became their own stoplight. They became a police brutality function in terms of after Denzel Dow was murdered in an alley over in Northern California. And so therefore the first issue of the original Black Panther Party newspaper, or flyer, I should say, was created to popularize, or I should say publicize, this murder. So the thing is, I think serving the people, body and soul, is the greatest, most satisfying thing you could do as a human being. Because one thing about it, I've always said that Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali may be proud to be a black man, but it was the Panthers who may be proud to be a human being. And it's all about cooperation and humanism and brotherhood and sisterhood in this world.
And what blows me away was in the old days, all the different states all over the country was popping up everywhere. And then it's been many, many years, but to this day, lot of the old Panther are still active in the struggle and still doing not like different things and everything and come to speak and all that. You don't really see that in much different organization. Like a lot of the hippies dropped out, a lot of the anti-war folks dropped out. Why did a lot of the Panthers still involved even as they aged? It really blows my mind.
Well, it's a commitment to the people, because the power of the people is greater than the man's technology, as Huey P. Newton used to say. And so it really comes from a love of the people. I think Che Guevara even said that, not to sound sensitive, but, again, what was this quote by Che saying that, basically you have to give yourself selflessly because you love the people. And that's what we did. That's what our first generation comrades did. And it really comes from a strong love of the people.
What are some of your favorite Panther books?
Oh, wow. Well, the first one I would say is probably Revolutionary Suicide by.
I read that 3 times.
Yeah. It was a great read. Of course, Nine Lives of a Black Panther.
Oh,
Yeah.
9 Lives of the Black Panther was hard. It was so hard. I never knew like so many LA Panthers died.
Yes. Well, actually, more Panthers in L.A. were killed
It,
than any other chapter in the entire Black Panther Party. So you definitely have to realize that reality. But a
right.
number of books. Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice was big. Frank Fanon's Wretched of the Earth, even though that's not a particular quote unquote Panther book. Bobby Seale's Seize the Time.
Oh, that one's cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
It's like so educational. I like it.
Yes.
It's very educational. Those books should be in mandatory high school studies.
Oh, absolutely. But again, it's counter to what this system has produced, and in terms of they don't really talk about liberation of the mind, and that's when you get that education from the books. So therefore, they're going to give you the bland stories or the traditional stories, but they don't tell you about liberation and fighting for rights. Again, I always tell people that America's so-called founding fathers created a standard with the Constitution higher than the level of their own behavior. And the failure to bring their attitudes in line with those high standards created an abolitionist movement. It would then later on create a civil rights movement, a Black Power movement, a People's Power movement, all the way up to Black Lives. So again, it's about bringing people together, educating them, and the fight for their right.
And a lot of people don't know this too because of the Panther breakfast program of the American schools. After FBI wiped them out, the American schools started having all the breakfast program. Except it wasn't free. American schools started charging.
Yeah, exactly.
They copied it, but they started charging. That was crazy.
Well, again, this system has piggybacked on what many of the Panther programs were about. Breakfast for children, and then they all of a sudden had it in schools. But again, you had to pay. Think of what's the WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children program. That actually began with the Panther movement in the Panther Party. So therefore, it was later adopted by federal government because number one, it's embarrassing that all of a sudden the people were able to fulfill their own needs and health needs and other needs, and then you have the people joining in and beginning to recognize what these Panther groups or any other groups. I think of Young Lords. I think of the Brown Berets, the American Indian movement, Uwakun, a lot of the Asian movements that really were starting to serve their communities and worked in coalition into a true rainbow coalition, as Fred Hampton had in Chicago, which Jesse Jackson later kind of borrowed that. and so I think it's really about people coming together and fulfilling the needs of the people.
I really like the documentary film made long time ago in the 90s, Passing It On by Duruba bin Wahad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The
very,
documentary film he was mentioning about how they were doing rent strike for like, I don't know, like building, like they won't fix it up. So there were all these rats going around and they were doing rent strike. Then also, I also love it when they went also underground and they were doing BLA and they were pushing out the drug dealers. In that film, they raided a dope dealer and they were pouring crack on the street. That was really awesome, awesome and stuff like that, like taking direct action. So I just
and they didn't, you didn't expect the system to do that for it, right? You didn't expect the police to have that kind of thing. Well, let's get the drugs out of the community and this and that. They really, and I got to shout out Kim Holder and others that Malik, brother Malik out in New York as well. And, I think of Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, Safiya Bukhari, rest in peace to her. So you had a lot of Shaba Om who really did so many things for the community and should be held to high esteem. I also say that I think people should know more about Gregory Everett's film on the Southern California chapter called 41st and Central.
I forgot to mention that.
Film, and
yes, that's a cool film. It's on
to request him coming out.
Yes, we showed that at the Solidarity Festival a few years back when I was living in Los Angeles, and the filmmaker he did
Gregory Everett.
Yes, he came and did a workshop. He's really cool. Yes. That was, that was like almost 8 years ago or something. Or 10, it could be 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's focusing on Los Angeles, which has a very unique history as well. And again, it's the one that had 3 eras. Now, the document itself really just covers the first era. But thing is, I would hope that eventually him or another filmmaker could show the second and third generations of the LA Panther movement, and hopefully we can get the exhibit in LA or up where you are in the Bay Area.
That'd be really awesome.
Yeah, so I got to get with Kamau and get with you and get with other organizers to make it happen, because it'll be powerful, and a lot of that history, particularly out of LA, people just don't know.
Yes, when all this comes down, and if you ever go on tour, you gotta contact us and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's plan for next October. October, of course, is Black Panther History Month. So I hopefully, with all the restrictions taken away, we could possibly have the exhibit in Los Angeles for next October, or in the Bay Area for next October. So like I say, we'll definitely put that in the atmosphere. We had a wonderful event here in Atlanta that myself, I had organized on behalf of Kamau, and we had Dr. Kato Cooks. He got on the plane that morning and went home that evening. Brother Boko and his wife actually were there. They drove down from where they live at now. And so the thing is, we had a large gathering. We had a great film showing, and it was just a wonderful event. And I think that LA and the Bay Area will be really, really inspired by that exhibit.
Yes, October, if this doesn't stretch out that long.
Yeah. Well,
if it doesn't go.
Maybe October of next year.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were saying this year. I was going.
Make sure
yes.
that we're able to kind of organize.
Thank you very much. All power
thank
to
you
the
so much, man.
people.
All power to the people.
We'll keep in touch, and thank you for the interview.
Oh, thank you, brother. I
And
appreciate all you've done as well.
and I'm gonna upload this on YouTube tomorrow.
Okay, look forward to seeing it.
All right. All
All
right.
power to the people.
Take
Happy
care.
power to the
Bye.
Vanguard.
Power to the people.